What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hold Husband Podcast. I'm your host, Terry DeRine. I got both of my co-hosts on the line with me today. I got my man, J Bob, on the building. What's up, bro?
Nothing much, man. Looking forward to doing these trending topics and the topic of the night here. Hopefully everybody enjoyed their Father's Day last weekend here. But just want a quick reminder, you can catch us on TikTok. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube at Hold Husband Podcast. And for those interested in promos and shout-outs, shoot us a DM at Hold Husband Podcast, as well as email us at holdhusbandpodcast@gmail.com. All right, T.
I also have my man SD in the building. What up, bro?
Nothing, man. I almost had a scare during the week. You know what I'm saying? Lost a bet, but we're not gonna get into it too deep on the podcast here. But let me give a shout out to Brother Soul Productions for always keeping the background audio fresh. And I want to remind you all to donate to the Hold a Husband Podcast on Cash App and PayPal. All right, T.
I want to remind everybody that y'all can catch the audio playback of the podcast every Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on thecore94.com. Today's episode is titled Keeping the Peace. And we're going to be having a discussion about how avoiding accountability or trying to avoid, conflict in a relationship usually doesn't work out as planned. But y'all know how we do around here, man. We like to discuss stuff that we've seen trending or on our timelines. So we got two real interesting videos to discuss this week. This first video is a video of TV personality Trevor Noah talking about the importance of sexual consent. Let's take a look.
I remember once, like the story around consent. This is like, I went on a date with a woman, and we had a great night, and things were looking good. And she was like, "Let's go back to your place." And I was like, "Oh, okay, let's go back to my place." And we head back to my place, and then when we get back to my place, she was like, "Oh man, I don't know if I should be here. I've had too much to drink." And I was like, "Oh, let me get you a car
out of here
immediately." I was like, "Whoa, let me get you a car."
Right.
I was like, "Oh, you should. I'm happy you said this. Mm-hmm. Thank you." I called, and then she was like, "Wait, what are you doing?"
Like,
I said, I'm getting you a car. And she said, "No, I didn't say I want to leave." And I said, No. Listen here. What you said there, I have to take. And I'm not even trying to be an about this. I'm not trying to punish you, nothing like that. You just said you don't think you should be here. You've had a lot to drink. And I didn't know how much you had to drink. I met you middle drinks vibes. So let me get you a car. There's another day. We can always meet on another day.
Right.
Now, we've seen how far left things can go after the fact. With accusations, I felt intimidated, I felt threatened or whatnot. So his wisdom to immediately take that as for face value and to not go a step further. I know back growing up, a lot of guys that their intent was to get women tipsy or get them to smoke and things of that nature to get them to be kind of more open to sexual encounters, but his stance on let me get you a drive, let me make sure you get home safely, to keep yourself clear. That's a great way to CYA in 2025, as far as I'm concerned. What y'all think?
I think it's a great way, but unfortunately, it don't even matter because
what you mean?
This is what I mean. They can be sober. They can consent today.
Oh, you're right.
And then 10 years from now, they can say, you know what? I felt pressured and I really didn't want to consent and he really took it from me. That's how I feel 10 years later. So let's charge him with assault today because he did this to me. So for me personally, consent is a sticky subject. You better have it, undoubtedly, before you do anything. So I agree with him in that, hey, you got to get up out of here. But unfortunately for men, it don't really matter in the long game because if they want to tarnish your name, get money from you, or send you to jail because they don't like you no more, the fact of the matter is that they can. Regardless of if they consented, they was on video, they did whatever they wanted to do at that particular time. If they changed their mind later on, the laws have allowed them to come up with this here mess. And that's the part that I don't agree with. His actions, I do. Jay, what you think?
Nah, and what you just said there. No, I like the way he handled it because, like you said, it's a tricky situation for what I was going to say here, where if someone is drunk, she can say, oh, well, I wasn't in my right state of mind. He raped me. We've seen stuff like this before. And just like you guys, I think we're now, with technology, now you have text receipts and everything. It's and video, it's a little easier to prove consent. Whereas, 20 years, 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have
she say. Yeah. I mean, I know personally that whole consent thing came to, as I've disclosed before, I was falsely accused of rape as a 17-year-old. And it came down to it, like, I'm just so thankful that I didn't actually have sex with a girl. Like, she kind of interrupted things while we were still in the foreplay phase. And so when I was turning around to grab my condom is when she put her panties back up and everything later. But like SD was saying, after the fact, they can change the context of the situation and the scenario to fit whatever narrative that they want. And in my particular case, the girl's mom beat her ass when I dropped her off at the house. Her mom immediately started beating on her. So she got her ass kicked, I guess, for being with a soldier or whatnot. And she had a boyfriend that was in a unit, so she was kind of trying to save face with her boyfriend. So I've seen firsthand how drastically different the story can change and all this. And even when it's an outrageous story that, mine got through out the next morning because of how outrageous it was. But I got very lucky. I didn't actually have sex with her. That was in the 90s. A lot of I can remake. You stick it in, then put on a condom after testing the waters per se. So a lot of stuff like that could have happened. And I always think like, damn, man, if that would have been DNA, they would have had all the evidence or enough evidence to go along with her story.
That's
well, I mean, I beg to differ. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Now I was just saying, the quintessential example, where we see these things, for example, the Central Park 5, one of the most infamous cases here, as far as saying accusing somebody of rape, and we're just going off of more so hearsay. What did it take them 15, 20 years to prove their innocence?
Yeah. You know what? But I disagree with Terry. She didn't get whooped because she was with a soldier or a boy. She got whooped because she was with a whore, and everybody knew it. Everybody knew she was with a whore. Yeah. And her mom was like, "I can't believe you with this whore. Look at him. He got his panties. He's a whore." That's why she got a whooping. So let this be a lesson to y'all. But listen, Jay, you said something that I disagree with. You said it's easy to prove consent, and it's really not. Look at the case that's going on right now, right? And I know what you mean, because you're like, yo, look at the text message. She's saying this, she's saying that, like whatever. Listen, I have seen men get fired. I have seen all of this just only happen to men. And now this famous case with Diddy. What's going on? Every single woman that he dealt with set these things up, said, hey, yeah, I'm always ready for a freak off. Got asked to do the freak off by the man, regardless of whatever, because they wanted the lifestyle, because they wanted the fame, the fortune, whatever it was, they consented.
Participated.
Yes, and voluntarily. And what's going on here in the court of public opinion, especially, he forced them. He made them do it. They didn't have a choice. When in actuality they did, but we know that people all the time, men and women, do this, where they compromise their morals and their integrity in order to get ahead in life.
Personal gain.
Yes, so that they can gain from it. And then on the back end, they claim that they were forced to do it, even though right there in the text messages, it says that they consented. They said that they consented. It's clear as day. But it's a murky situation when you start getting into the courtroom and all that. Not only that, black men in particular, have lost their lives for being accused of rape, or even back in the day, it didn't even have to be rape. It could be whistling at a
looking at a white woman,
looking at a white chick, saying hi to a white chick. So this here thing has been going on since the beginning of time. That's why men now are more cautious than ever. When I'm at work, I don't ride the elevator with women. I don't work out in the gym with just me and a single, just a woman up there. I'll leave. I'll come back later and work out. I'll take the stairs if it's only one of them on the elevator. Absolutely not, because I don't want my name in something. And I'll turn on my phone to record. Hey, have a nice day. Oh yeah, you too. Hey, that was the only time I seen Shorty. So what's she talking about? What I do? You know what I mean? That's how I do, because I know, and we all know, that you don't have to actually do anything. Just them saying it.
Accusation.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, man. Let's keep things rolling. This next video addresses a topic I've never had to deal with personally, but I've seen the conversation had several different times. It's about interracial dating and how Black women feel about Black men that date white women. Let's take a look.
Childish Gambino. Y'all ain't like me growing up, not never. Then I got a white woman, and because I got money, now it's like you don't like sisters. Y'all ain't never gave me the time of day, and when I tried, it was like I was nerdy, weird, ugly duckling, and nobody wanted nothing to do with me. And now I'm supposed to, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my experience, and then I don't. If I shot my shot at you, I might have thought you was, you know what I'm saying? But if y'all don't like me, and we know it happens, because it happened to Black little girls, it happened to Black boy where you just ain't it. But then now if I go date something else, is, oh, I hate myself. If I do shit, you made me feel like that. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all never wanted nothing to do with me. So it's on both sides. But at the end of the day, if I go with where I'm being shown love, what's the issue with that?
I can definitely understand where he's coming from. As a guy that's only dated Black women, I was able to observe the guys that struggle with them, and that's kind of, what I use to mold and shape my approach to women and kind of my personality or whatnot. I figured out how to be able to get them to laugh and continue to have conversations and things of that nature. I figured out how to have the kind of swag and aura to where girls would go on dates or want to be alone with me. And so I can understand the perspective of the guys that struggle with that. And it's logical to go where the people like you, that's a fundamental strategy as far as dating goes. Figure out which chicks like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and those are the ones you should shoot your shot at. And if that happens to be primarily white girls because you too nerdy, you too smart, you into comic books or some other reason why that Black girls eliminate guys, and we can all attest, Black women have some of the dumbest dating criteria for men. And so we talk about their poor decision making and poor evaluation process all the time. So this is kind of the result of that.
Yeah, man, like, come on. We all know this to be true. No matter where you look at. I remember like let's just say back in the day, right? Remember when they used to do Man Crush Mondays on Instagram and stuff back in the day?
I remember that.
I never seen a chick post Nick Cannon. I'd never seen a chick post Carlton Banks. I'd never seen a chick post Tiger Woods. I'd never seen a chick post Russell Wilson. Ever. But you know who had that? Who was up there? Drake, Chris Brown, Future, Idris Elba, Method Man, Benz Tate, all the dudes that's hoes or were hoes out here, can be hoes. The nerdy type of guys that was considered lame by most Black people, the women didn't pay them no attention. Urkel, and what they do, what most of these dudes go do, they went with the white women, because in our community, like Terry said, a lot of these here other individuals and other cultures, races of women aren't as superficial as Black women and Black men too, because we do it too. They don't care, and I see this a lot, like at work and when I was in school, like they'll get with a dude just because he's got a good job and he has a nice crib and she's working or whatever. I ain't never heard a white girl say, you know what, he too small, his nose too big, he too this and he too that. Like they be like, whatever, he come from a good family, he got a good job, and he works hard so we can build something together, even if we have kids. Like that's how other cultures
long-term thinking.
Yeah, I really noticed this when I was in these different countries. When I went to these different countries, the women out there, they don't care if you're wearing Jordans. They don't care if you're wearing a chain. Dude, one of my guys had on the same outfit for 5 days straight. And nobody cared. Nobody was paying no attention. And different women was like, hey, how you doing? You know, they speak and they like them and all this here stuff. Like, nobody cares about that. But when it comes to us, we see it every day on Kendra G. Oh, he got to be this height. He got to have it. He got to look like this. He got to look like that. No matter what they look like.
Bunch of criteria.
Come on, man. So, but then when these here guys get with a white woman, that's when we see the hate that comes from it. Yes, but we never see that same hate when it's Chili, Venus Williams, Serena Williams, Eve, any of these other people. They celebrate them for doing it, but when it's a black man, it's a problem because they know that it's it's food taken from their mouths. That's what it is, and they hate it. But it is hypocritical. So I completely understand what he's saying.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I think there's two sides to this here, right? Like Terry said, I pretty much only date black women. That's all I've ever really dated. I've never really dated outside the race. But, I can see why at times, I feel like some guys still got hurt from, I don't know, junior high. The black women dissed them and said, you know what, I'm going to go. They called me lame way back when, so I'm going to go do. I mean, now I have no problem if, hey, you date someone, you marry someone, you fell in love with, and she just happened to be white or another race. That's one thing. But what I don't like is, okay, you date white and you use that to kind of demean or denigrate black women. That's my thing with that.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. Like, I was going to say, it's one thing for you to date white women because that's your opportunity. But it does kind of annoy me, the guys that act like black women ain't worth dating. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything about black women is a problem. And so I do have a problem with that type of mindset. That is the type of person where I don't know whether it's white supremacy. I don't know what really triggers a guy to hate your family members and hate what you actually look like. Like, I want my daughter to look like me. I want my daughter to have dark skin. You know what I'm saying? Like, me personally, those are things that I take pride in. Go ahead.
I think the thing with that, I think it comes from a place of self-hate. Because think about it, this is what I see here, and I'm sure you guys might have observed this as well, right? The same thing that they're saying, same thing that they're holding black women don't do this or they don't do that or they got bad attitudes. They don't hold, a non-black woman to that same standard. They kind of like grade them on the curve or give them a pass because she's non-black. So I've seen that too.
Feisty Latino women and all that. I get it. But it is a very volatile topic because there's so many things that go into it. Like, for example, how the black women that date white guys, their standards for dating a white guy are nowhere near the standards that they hold for black men. You know what I'm saying? So they put these white men on this pedestal and they just be the most lame, basic white boys ever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just the average white man.
Yeah, a white dude with no swag and no whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, those same women will act like black men are not worth dating or whatnot. So those two people, I take issue with, and I don't have much respect for their perspective on. But like you said, genuinely, I really don't care who other people date or have sex with. But I guess it's more so your logic or reasoning behind it, I guess would be the determining factor for me.
Yeah, but they champion when black women say these things about black men who date white men. It was just an interview last week on Club Shay Shay with K. Michelle. K. Michelle, man, these black men creating these broken homes. I want them to start getting married to these black women, and then turn around and say, "Oh, I only date white men. White men love me." Now, she said she only date white men. Then turn around and say black men don't do this. Black men create broken homes. They doing this. They just sleep with everybody. And the comments was full of praise. Yep, you're right. You're right. Not even thinking. And all I did was post. All I did was post the amount of black men that that don't have children between ages 15 and 49, 54%. And the amount of women, black women that don't have kids between 15 and 49, 39%. So there are ways as black men. Yes, it is. And,
With
and
kids.
the problem with that is it's like 2 million more of them than us. It's like 2 million more of them than us. And their numbers is still way lower than ours. So the majority of black men aren't creating broken homes because we're not including the 35% that are married and a lot of those dudes having kids and living at home with their kids. We're not even including that piece. So the ones that are actually creating these broken homes are the women who decides who's birthed or not. Men don't decide that. Men just add to the process and help along the process, but we don't decide who's birthed or not. They do 100%, but they hopped on the bandwagon and jumped right on her coattail talking about black men, and then turned right around and said, "Oh, I only date white women. They love me, but ain't nobody."
Yeah, I mean, it's and especially somebody like her whose kind of mentality and dating history is very toxic, chaotic, dysfunctional relationships. Um, but again, single mom, BBL, like she has so many red flags that I don't see how any man would really seriously date her. Obviously, she's attractive, so of course she's gonna get smashed. But her mentality and her perception of black men, well, your son's gonna be a black man, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so the women that choose all these toxic bad guys in their youth, get pregnant, have babies, and all this type of thing, and then they use that to kind of shape all black men in general. That has always annoyed me. Like we were just talking about in the fatherhood conversation, how they don't expect dads to watch their own kids or change diapers and stuff. Like their perception of men is so unfair and unrealistic, that it's damn near offensive. You know what I mean?
But let me say this real quick. I do notice a pattern with black women and white men. I do notice a pattern, and I say this because the other day I was looking at Instagram, and I see this black woman, nice looking black woman, walking in the parking lot from some store. I mean, titties out, clearly showing the titties, like trying to show titties, bouncing the way she walking. And then I looked at her bio, it said wife with a ring on it, right? Mrs. Whatever. Yeah. I said, I bet you she married to a white dude. Sure enough, I scrolled down, white guy. So I say that to say this: when you see, most times when you see black women with white dudes, the white dudes is let them do a lot of things that a black dude probably ain't going for. Like they could get away with whatever and do all types of stuff when they with that white dude a lot of times. So that's a common thing that I've noticed in those type of relationships. They are more domineering, they're more aggressive, they're more leadership based, and so
they control the relationship a lot of times.
Yeah, so they go get them a white dude that kind of let them do what they want to do and don't really say a whole lot. So I mean, if it works for them, it works. But it is what it is.
No doubt.
Yeah, it's hard to have that conversation, especially with a group of black women, without somebody getting in their feelings, without it turning hostile, without it turning into a personal attack. Yeah, I was just like, it's about to turn into some shaming tactics, some criticism, because anytime you talk about men that don't like or don't want a specific group of women, it always creates chaos. But we about to keep things moving, man. We up against the clock. We about to take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna be getting into tonight's conversation. Tonight's topic, keeping the peace, and a discussion about how avoiding conflict in the name of trying to avoid conflict usually backfires long term. You are tuned into the Hold a Husband podcast. We'll be back in a minute.
Hi, I'm relationship coach and author Terry Duran, and I am pleased to announce that my book, It's Not That Complicated, is finally available as an audiobook. So if you don't like to read, or you just don't have time to read a paperback book, this audiobook is perfect for you. You can listen to it while you're in your car, while you're at work, etc. In the book, I break down how husband material men think and operate in regards to sex, love, and relationships, and I provide real quality insight on how husband material men approach dating. The audiobook is available on audible.com and on iTunes. All you have to do is go to one of the websites and search for my name, Terry Duran. Go download your copy today.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Ho to Husband podcast. Today's episode is titled Keeping the Peace. And we're going to be having a discussion about how avoiding conflict or avoiding holding somebody accountable in an effort to avoid arguments usually backfires long term for a relationship. Now, throughout the discussions we've had over the years about, accountability, criticism or whatnot, I think it's pretty evident that we live in a society where women can criticize men unlimitless. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how big or small it is, women criticize men and the things men do in regards to dating and relationships. It's always a crowd of women that support it. And conversely, whenever you criticize anything that women do that contribute negatively to relationships or dating, there's always backlash. And so this is often experienced one-on-one within the relationship as well, and why it's so difficult for men to actually express themselves, to where most guys just avoid. I mean, we've all heard guys say, man, I don't want to hear her mouth, or I'm just trying to, to get her to shut up. And over time, I think that kind of just encourages the negative or the problematic behavior.
Yeah, I mean, it do. It's like anything else. I mean, like a child, right? If your child does something that's wrong, right, and you don't correct it, what's going to happen? They're going to keep doing it. I mean, that's why, kids used to get whooped or spanked on the hand or whatever. They messing with the outlet. They messing with the stove. Whatever the case, they got a bad attitude, even if you was flipping at the mouth. Well, we would get hit in the mouth. Mom will pop us right in the mouth. Right? You interrupt grown folks, man, without saying excuse me. You get hit in the mouth or plucked. They called it plucked upside the head, right? So that was to let you know, hey, you out of line, kid. Get back in line before I give you some more. So, not saying you do that with women. I mean, they used to pluck them back in the day, but now you can't pluck them. They used to pluck them back in the day, boy. Yeah. But they still plucking them over in one of these other countries, man. But so my point is that if you do not correct behavior that is problematic or detrimental to a relationship, it's only going to get worse. Not even that it's one thing to correct it, but even then you'll get backlash, like Terry is saying. Yeah. But it's another thing for them to be receptive to it, right? So you can
very rare.
But if they aren't receptive to it, it's gonna fall on deaf ears. It'll still ruin the relationship because they won't make any changes. So as men, we learn to pick our battles, for lack of better words, right? Some things we just, like Terry said, I don't even want to hear her mouth about that. So you don't even say nothing about it. But there are a lot of things where you do have to say something, or else you'll be living in misery. I refuse to live in misery. Maybe that's my problem, because I let these episodes know right away. I let them know, like, listen here, this ain't gonna fly. And from then on, what you do is what you do.
Exactly. You know what? I think a lot of men, and I've been guilty of this myself at some point, in my young years, where we're trying to go along to get along. We don't want to go back and forth. We don't want any conflict here. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. Like you said, I look at it like this: what you permit, you promote. So if there's certain behaviors that you don't like in women, and you don't say anything about it, or let's just say she says something slick or disrespectful, and you let that slide, she's going to keep doing it. Now, you ain't got to yell, scream, or be demonstrative, but you can say, hey, listen, I don't like when you do this, or whatever she's upset, hey, what can we do to get on the same page? Now, like you said, if she's not going to listen, or it's going to cause even more conflict, that's probably not the person for you.
Man, as the guy that's been married over 20, 21 years, uh, picking your battles becomes key. So there are some things like women are not going to be 100% transparent. How many, things like shopping. I know of couples where women go through great lengths to hide their Amazon purchases. They have stuff delivered to their friend's house, and they exchange it. They some come to the house for a friend. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like they do stuff like this so that husbands can't really track and monitor everything. So, and I say that because it reminds me early on, my wife has a problem with shoe shopping. And so I would remember early on in the marriage, it seemed like every time we went somewhere, she was ripping off price tags and new outfits. I'm like, damn, you got so many new clothes, you know what I mean? And so I didn't realize until years later that she was shopping and she was hiding all the shopping. You know what I'm saying? Like so we had to come up with a value system. Like we need to discuss purchases over X amount. Like you gotta give them room to be able to have some freedom per se. But to me, that just goes to show me, like, even if you say, hey, no more Amazon, you order too much on Amazon, she can have it delivered to her office, she can have it delivered to her cousin, you know, so like, so there are gonna be some things that go on that you really can't control or fix.
So with the clothes, like, would she would just like hide it like in another room in the house, within the house or something like that?
I mean, it's in her closet, but
oh, okay.
I mean, I guess you think when somebody goes shopping, they walk in the front door with their shopping bag, and that.
Right.
Not strategically bringing clothes and stuff,
gotcha.
and, you know, not disposing of receipts and things of that nature. Like, if you're not paying attention to it, you don't notice it. Like, I was oblivious to it, and so I just like, damn, you got a lot of outfits, you got a lot of new clothes, and this and that. And that's when I kind of figured out, like, oh, okay, I get it. You doing the shopping and you doing this and all that on a slick, you know what I mean? But the Amazon thing, I heard other husbands talking about this kind of stuff, and I just laughed like, man, it's an uphill battle trying to monitor. You know, some women will use their daughter to order it, you know, so like, so stuff like that. You're not gonna be able to control everything, but the avoiding the argument or the avoiding the conflict, that causes resentment over time, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times when guys, you know, attempt to have that conversation, it always gets flipped to, but what about this? But what about what you do? But what about this? And so over time, that can make a guy fall out of love and make him check out of the relationship ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I ain't never, Amazon wasn't really a big thing back in the day. I mean, like that. I mean, it was all right, but when I was in a relationship, but as long as it ain't affecting the house and, you know, she ain't doing too much, I ain't really gonna care because, you know, I like to do a little bit myself, a little shopping. So I never really thought about, you know, women hiding stuff like that. I've heard of wives hiding gifts and stuff, but they was cheating. Some of my couple of my guys, they was cheating and had gifts for other dudes or at Christmas time, like, and they found them. Like, that's the only time I heard about, you know, wives.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it was wild, man. You know, but hey, it is what it is. And he still had to pay alimony. So,
damn,
hey, man, it is what it is. But
man, that's nasty work right there.
That's the rules, man. So,
man,
but that's why I like simple women, though. You know what I'm saying? I like simple women. That's not, you know, materialistic. And you don't have to be materialistic in order to shop, because I'm not materialistic and I just get stuff and it be a Mario Brothers t-shirt, a Transformers t-shirt. Like, it ain't nothing that somebody gonna be like, oh my God, that's such a nice Transformer t-shirt. Like, no. But, you know, I like to get things, but I don't like materialistic women that's gotta have the latest, greatest, and all the name brands and all of that stuff. Like, that type of woman will run y'all out of house and home and empty empty your bank accounts and run up your credit cards. So I like simple women. Simple.
Yeah, you got to spot that during the dating process. How she feels about materialistic things. And, there's nothing wrong with liking nice stuff, but you just have to have priorities. You know what I mean? A lot of people, especially in today's world, their eyes don't match they price range. I mean, they salary range or they lifestyle range. Like that, they're looking at, they want to live like these celebrities and drive these super luxurious vehicles when they should be trying to reach a place in life where they just pay their bills consistently. You know what I'm saying? And afford what they can afford, live within your means. I think somebody that has a more open attitude towards that philosophy, I think would be better suited for long-term success. Because like you said, trying to keep up with the Joneses or trying to be with a chick that gotta be in a section every Sunday and all that, those are the type of people that operate off short-term decision making, because none of that is beneficial long-term.
Man, you talking about living above your means, man. If you go down the O Block, it's a parking lot full of Mercedes-Benz trucks. Like, man, where are you? I got Mercedes-Benz trucks living over here in the projects, man. Because hey, priorities, man. They want to make it seem like they got money.
Yep.
And for the show, you know how black people is. That's how black people is, man. Kanye made the song about it. Hey, named her daughter Alexis and couldn't even have one.
Couldn't afford a car.
Yeah, you know what? I think this discussion about trying to resolve conflict with women, I think is drastically different when it comes to men, because I think with our interactions with other men, conflicts get resolved almost instantly. You know what I mean? It's very rare to have conflict with the guy. I mean, I guess in the office or at work, it may be prolonged, but just in general out in society, if there's a conflict with a man, that threat of violence is always there. So there's not going to be no blatant disrespect. And the goal is usually to try to resolve it without the situation escalating further. Whether that's other friends calming them down or getting, it can obviously get out of hand when you talking about the nightclub where drinking and drugs and stuff is involved. But for the most part, when you got men that are in a normal environment, it's rare to have those type of things escalate, you know what I'm saying? Because you can resolve it man to, that phrase, man to man, one-on-one. I think that's the most direct and the easiest way to resolve conflict in a timely manner. And I think that's why guys, if you notice, guys tend to have friendships from childhood, high school. We usually don't get into it with our friends if we all have the same value system and respect for color.
I think because, men are usually more logical, reasonable, level-headed, right? Whereas women, not so much, women are more so predicated on their emotion. And a lot of times, women move on their emotions and can be catty at times, that's why. Whereas men, like I said, there's the possibility of violence. We know we can kill each other with bare hands. So we're trying to de-escalate so it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah, women don't have that, man. And men, we can't argue with women. Like, we just can't do it, man.
Very difficult, bro.
Like women can't physically keep up with us, and we can't I don't even know the word, mouthfully keep up with them. Because I just made it up, whatever. They mouth, man, because they mouth will cause you to do something. Just like a dude. Like a dude keep yapping and going off at the mouth, man, it's probably gonna end with hands. But see, with a woman, you don't want to go there. That's why dudes try to avoid things with a woman and be like, yo, I don't even want to hear her mouth about it because he can't argue with that, yo. Women try to hurt you to the core. A lot of times when their feelings is hurt. Y'all out somewhere and now you get into it with her and she like, yeah, you asked me to lick your booty the other day. Now you like, I can't believe you told him I asked you to lick my butt in front of everybody. That's how they do. Ain't nothing you can say. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't argue with them. So that's why it's best, man, say your couple words or say what you're going to say or try to avoid it and be like, you know what, I'm done with this. Let me go ahead with this.
Yeah,
That's what we do.
This reminds me of a tragic situation that happened, I think, within the last week or so, where it was a murder suicide of two social media influencers, where they were both like going live at the same, back and forth going live, kind of airing they arguments, and they accusing each other of cheating and all that. To me, I hate. I hate when people bring they personal business to social media like that. Like, well, you have an argument, but you on camera. Like you confronting somebody about something, but you're on camera. Now I understand sometimes you need a camera to kind of document what exactly happened, but to me, that's an environment where it's it's almost impossible to de-escalate under those circumstances, where you got one person, they reading comments from their fans. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so many different things that can, as we saw, can spiral the situation out of control. So that's the part of it that, I'm old school, man. I believe in keeping your business private, resolving it one-on-one, behind the scenes, and all that. I think you get the best results out of that, because a lot of times, if you air your spouse out on social media, you might forgive them, but your friends, your families, your followers, your people that don't like them are not. And so it's going to be something that's it's always going to be, reoccurring scenario or a topic that you have to deal with. And so as for me, I guess the reason why I don't post so much, or I'm kind of really private, is, man, people be in your business, and depending on what they know about you, they can find out information about your kids, your this and that and that. And it can get wild out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when couples are putting your address, you putting all your business, people you streaming, driving to your house, like, a lot of people be putting too much information on the net that leads to the demise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, man. You really do. Men and women gotta be careful out here nowadays.
No question.
Because people out here, man, they crazy. I remember I posted. I was happy. This was about 6 years ago. I started up my own business or whatever. Got my LLC going. Man, I posted it. Man, this chick sent me every property I had, where I was born at, my kids, all this stuff. Like, thanks for posting your address. Now I know your name. I blocked this heifer so quick. I'm like, man, if you don't get out of here, you went through all this to try to find out who I am. I got your P.O. box. I see you got 4 properties and you got 3 cars and blah. I'm
That's
like,
wild.
what in the world? Yeah, man. So you got to be careful out here. That's why I don't like using my real name.
But
social media.
But you know what, with this stuff, it's like, once we get into this space, whatever social media said, once you hit send, man, you lose any sense of anonymity, because at the end of the day, understanding this stuff, if people want to find you, they're gonna find you.
Real quick. DDG, Keke Palmer's boyfriend, and any of Papoose, like, look at how they're losing these battles on social media just for trying to do what women do. Sometimes as a man, you have to let them go and do whatever they do, because what let's take DDG. What she said about DDG, there was no evidence. She like, yo, yeah, he chipped my tooth. Okay, cool. Even though she had a video from a couple months ago talking about how she did it. But that was that, right? He comes out with all these here crazy text messages. Her talking about she gonna off herself, took his weapon, did all this, took the kid, threatened him with all this here stuff, and still a lot of the women was like, nope, we stand with Hallie. Forget it.
Ignore the evidence.
Even the judge said, nah, that's not enough. So, it's kind of a lose.
I was gonna say, to tie this into to the topic of trying to keep the peace. DDG. A lot of times, guys, especially when you dealing with the parental conflict, a lot of women have this default mode where they just feel like they are better parents than dads because they carried the baby. They know more than men. They just feel like their choices and decision making is always going to be better than the man's. And you can see that in lots of different ways. Like I remember there's a video last week that went viral where the woman's picking tomatoes or apples or something, and the man's video on right there where he's picking up a video that she just selected as good enough, and because he's holding it, she looked at it like, nah, that's a bad one. And so those type of I don't know if it's subconscious for women or whatnot to just automatically be skeptical of something that the man, because a man chose it or a man selected it. But when it comes to parenting, that is one of the key areas where it's going to be very problematic if you correct her or tell her she's doing something wrong. So a lot of times, to avoid hearing her mouth, a guy will just try to either resolve the problem or go behind her and fix the problem himself. And ultimately, like we said earlier, it never actually resolves the issue. It's just trying to put a Band-Aid on the situation that's eventually going to need surgery.
Yeah, but she could tell you what you did wrong. All day long, she could tell you. And you could tell that women think that they're better parents than they baby daddy or husband or whatever, because they get mad if the child chooses to be with the man. Like even just a hug. Where they
I never thought about that.
And go towards the dad, the mom be sitting there like, or the child say, no, I want to go with my dad. They be mad, like, what you mean go with your dad? Or who you like being with most? My daddy. What? Your daddy? Why you feel like your daddy? Because they feel like they're better parents. That's also why they say, my child, my baby, my this, my that. And you a second-hand parent at that point. So that's why a lot of men have to keep the peace. In other words, or else you wind up in a situation like DDG. Sometimes you can't keep the peace, because keeping the peace, you lose a part of your manhood in the process. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you have to make noise and cause issues, because I believe this here all started when he put his kid on the stream, and she didn't like the child being on the stream, and he like, yo, this is what I do. Like, it's cool. Yeah, and she was like, no, you can't be doing that. So she wanted to exact control over what he did with his son when they were together. In those conditions, well, you just gonna have to be mad. Sometimes you have to do that as a man and not keep the peace. Let her do whatever she gonna do. Let her be mad, and eventually she'll get over it. She took it to the extreme, of course, but
that's the problem, because when you think about, okay, all right, I'm gonna call it out. I'm gonna handle it. Address the problem. Most people expect a reasonable, rational, conversation or response. But you're not going to get that when a woman's hurt, when she wants to be petty or childish or vindictive, or when they know that they have your child and they can use the child against you. So all these type of scenarios put a man at a disadvantage, where a man's willing to put up with more than he would accept from other people or deal with, just because in the name of trying to keep the peace. Like I remember a video, since we're talking about them two, where they were on a yacht or a boat, and they had just had an argument. So he was streaming, and she walked by and stomped on his foot while walking past on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that would have got your ass kicked if you was a dude. You know what I'm saying? Like man, a dude you said something, a dude just walk up and accidentally and intentionally step on your foot. Those are the type of things that instantly result in violence among me. You know what I mean?
Man,
but these women know. Now I was just saying, these women know. Yeah, hey, listen, they have the law on their side and everything. You touch them or even get in their face. Hey, they're one cop call away.
Yeah, Terry said something, man, where the women got the advantage and they got the leverage over the man when they have a baby or something like that with them. They got the leverage on, right? And so the man kind of acts a certain way as to not piss her off or get her in a bad mood, whatever the case, because she has that leverage. And I just thought about it. A lot of women do that too, man, when they just girlfriends. when they just girlfriends, man, they a lot of them, they don't want to ruffle no feathers because you got the leverage of having everything, having the crib, and having all this thing. They try to keep the peace with you a lot of time. Not nowadays, not so much. They used to back in the day. Now these helpers don't even know how to keep the peace to get married. But I'm saying they play the same game too, just on the opposite end. So it is
avoid the conflicts. It's
that's smart,
a
right?
strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, well, obviously that's the goal. Like if you were just a chill person, most people don't like unnecessary conflict. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll have conflict if I have to, if somebody brings a conflict to me, but ideally I don't. You interrupted me chilling. You interrupted me doing what I would rather be doing. And so when you in a household with somebody that is intentionally going out their way to be petty or inconvenience you or make things more difficult for you, it can be difficult for somebody that has children, or the good old "it's cheaper to keep her." He's reached a point emotionally and mentally where he wants to leave, but he knows that will financially make his lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's forced kind of per se to stay in the situation for lack of what he would lose if he left. Those situations are very miserable. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't. The only person that wins is the person that's the problem in those type of situations, really.
Unfortunately.
All right, man. Looks like we are up against the clock. When we about to get up out of here, but before we go, I want to give another shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us nice with our background music. I want to remind y'all to continue supporting the podcast through our Cash App and our PayPal. JSD, man, I appreciate y'all linking up so we can get this episode knocked out. This has been another episode of the Hold a Husband Podcast, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.